Hello.
Maopai.
Maopai. It's been a long time since we've seen you guys. Mike Arnold and I, Mike Leatham, decided to make a video to share with the Saints in Allen on our 40th anniversary of our arrival. After reading my missionary journal, it's very hard to read, we found that we arrived in Allen, Samar on May 5th, 1981. It was a long day. We took a 6-hour bus drive from Tocloban. Arnold and I became companions, and we arrived in Allen. We knew that there was a mayor there named Manaoc that said, come on up, and President Trejo granted us the opportunity to open a new area in the Philippine Cebu mission, and it was Allen, Samar.
Do you want to tell him why? I mean, did you request it?
So a month or two earlier, my companion and I toured the island of Samar, went around, and we found,
Clough.
yeah, Elder Clough. We found a place that we'd like to open. It was called Allen. So I've been requesting for the last area of my mission to go to Allen, and President Trejo granted us that. So when we arrived in Allen, we really didn't know anybody but this mayor that I met on a bus previously, Mayor Manaoc, very nice guy. When we arrived, we had nowhere to stay, so we decided to go to the hotel. Downtown near the city plaza, there was a hotel called?
Bicolana.
The Bicolana.
The Bicolana Inn.
It might have been $4 or $5 a night, I can't remember.
Pesos.
Well, I converted it.
Oh, okay.
So when we arrived at the Bicolana, we had to sleep on an old grass mat that looked like it was many years old, and it was quite dirty. It was pretty gross. But it provided a shelter and a place to start. Tell them about your shower experience.
Well, I was decided I wanted to go take a shower, and they said there was a fine shower down the hallway that
Community shower.
Community shower that everybody used. And so I went in there, and the first thing I noticed was I couldn't see the floor because it was full of water, and it wasn't just clear water, it was kind of milky color.
Used
So
water.
I couldn't tell where the bottom was, and so I took a stick and I felt to see how deep it was. And so I realized right then that I was not going to do that right away. So I went around in the area, and I found 2 of those gallon-sized tin cans.
Coffee cans.
Coffee cans. And I found some strings. And I tied those to the coffee cans so that I could put them on my feet, each one under my foot, and then I would lift it up and I would walk like this. So and then the water came up about halfway on the coffee can, and so I had to take a quick shower because I needed to leave more room for him to get. So by the time he was done, it was almost to the top of the coffee can.
It was pretty gross.
Elder Arnold, was that your first area?
No, second.
Okay, so you're still relatively green.
So Mike Arnold, yes, it was his second area. He was my greenie, and it was my last area. I was getting prepared to go home. So we used the Bicolana Hotel as our base. We started talking to the mayor. He's introduced us to several people, and we started walking around meeting people. In the midst thereof, Mike Arnold is very good with his magic tricks.
So I think a lot of the success that we had was not magic, but it was getting really to know the people through just really having fun with them. And that's what we did. I had one trick that was really popular.
It was pretty stupid, actually.
It was really good. And it was, I'd go around and I'd show people my hands. They'd say, anything in my hands? No. And then I'd go. And then there'd be a little boy there, or all these little kids. Or sometimes we would have, seriously, we would have
50 to 100.
50 to 100 kids all
Following us.
gathered around. And I'd pull that out, and the little boy right in front of me, I go, oh, imong panty?
And I'd roll my eyes, and they would laugh, and then they'd go get their parents.
And then I would stick it back in there, like I'm doing right now. And then I'd have one of the little children blow on it, and I'd go, blow. and go like that, it's gone. And so all these little children, the next, after we did about, I had other magic tricks and I'd do about a 10-minute magic show. And then after that, all the kids would come up and they'd start, Joe, come to my house, Joe. And we would take our appointment books out and we'd just start writing down, where do you live? Dito. And so we would write down the address and we'd tell them, we'll be there tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we would just go through and we had our appointment book filled for a week, 2 weeks sometimes.
So downtown in the central park of Allen, where the Catholic Church is, there was a plaza, and he did that in the plaza many times. While I wrote down the appointments, he was doing his dumb magic, and it worked.
So tell me about your first apartment.
So we met a man named Arturo Almazan and his wife Rosita, and they invited us to come look at their house, and they wanted to rent it to us. So we were given the assignment from the mission to find an apartment or a place to live, and the Almazans were gracious enough to rent us their house. I don't know where they moved out to, but we moved into their house, and it was a cinder block house. It was close to the pier where the ferry would come in, and they dried coconut and copra out there, and they had a kind of a little compound, and we started living there. And that became our apartment. We found out within the first week. And the Amazons became very dear friends of ours, and they introduced us to many people.
Did the Amazons ever get baptized?
They didn't, but we hear Bishop Amazon now is in charge of one of the wards there. Very happy.
And he was probably one of the children running around that we were showing magic tricks to.
Yep, he probably was tortured by the magic tricks. So we have lots of pictures in our journals and in our books, of some little kids. So I'm not sure which one is Bishop Amazon, but I'm sure we'll figure it out someday. So we started meeting so many people and getting so many appointments. We were very, very busy. In fact, we sometimes didn't even eat a breakfast or a lunch because we were so busy. Usually the missionary appointments back then took about an hour to teach a lesson. We got it down to do them in about 35 minutes. And we would run from appointment to appointment to appointment. And we had so much people wanting to learn. It was amazing. In fact, the mission leaders didn't believe when we turned in our statistics on how many lessons we're teaching, how many Book of Mormons we placed, how many people that we were teaching, and how many, all that stuff. They didn't believe our numbers. They thought we were making them up.
So hold on a second. You physically ran from appointment to appointment. Why is that?
Well, because we were busy, and
well, also that we had, at one point there was the Catholic priest told the drivers of the pedicabs and even the jeepneys, if they were going through town, whatever, any kind of transportation, we were not to get any rides because we were having so many baptisms. It was literally, we were taking the people off the front row of the Catholic Church, some of the highest paying people. And so they made it as hard for us as they could. And at one point they even told the Catholic priest from Allen, from the podium one Sunday, told the people to take a bulo and cut our heads off if we come to the front door.
a bow knife. So that just made us more incentivized and we got even more successful by that.
So we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Go back to, who's our first member?
So while we were wandering the streets of Allen, the first week we were there, we bumped into a lady named Loida Gaviola. I hear she no longer is alive, but she was very, very happy to see us. And I guess she was baptized previously in Manila. Mm-hmm. And she introduced us to some of her relatives, and we started teaching them too. So she was the very first member in Allen, but she was not converted there. So we started teaching many people. And in fact, I show in my journal, the first baptisms we had were on May 24th, 1981. And I believe we had 7 of them. The very first one I wrote in my book was Roberto Sambilia, Roberto Lutumbo Sambilia, and his daughter Razel Sambilia, or Razel. They were baptized on May 24th, along with Milagros Casaños, Mendoza, Florita, Ecoy, and I think those two ladies were our house help. So we hired them to wash our clothes and help cook for us so we could keep teaching lessons. So while we were there, we also taught their children, the Casañas family, and we had many baptisms. I think our second baptism, we had Judge Richuelo, who we met, and he was very, very fun to teach. Very educated man, very smart. So I had an old tape, and it was from Hubie Brown, and he gave a talk many, many years ago, probably before we were born, called Profile of a Prophet. And he taught the gospel to an attorney and a judge. And Brother Richuelo loved that. So we had it all typed up. And the gospel was presented to him in the manner of that talk. In fact, I would encourage you guys to go find it online and read Profile of a Prophet. What did you think?
As far as Richuelo?
Well, yeah, the Richuelo family was very receptive.
They were very instrumental in a lot of ways. Number one, Brother Richuelo was respected in the area because he was the former judge. And it almost was like as soon as he was baptized, it gave so much credibility to what we were teaching because he was very well known, very well liked, and people trusted his judgment. Not that the Spirit didn't have anything to do with it, because it did. But just getting in the door and talking to people, when they found out that Judge Richuelo had joined the church, they were very interested because of that.
And he had a large family, and I remember going into his house, and he had lots of wood carvings. His hobby or his side business was carving wood, and he had some super cool wood carvings. And his family was very receptive. I think Sister Richuelo got baptized the next baptism we had, along with some of the children. And to this day, we keep in touch with some of those people on Facebook. It's really cool. So in the midst thereof, we had to have church meetings. We didn't have any supplies. We didn't really have any guidance. They told me to be the branch president until they could figure it out. And while we were there, we decided to have our first church meeting on a Sunday.
We even built benches and things like that, but that was a little bit further, a few weeks later. But that first church meeting was in our apartment. We had Mr. Almazan. He had a furniture store, and he volunteered to have people bring in all these benches and chairs and just seating arrangements. And it looked like a furniture showroom in there, and everybody was sitting around. There was no organization to it whatsoever. It was just people sitting in a room. So, and we were talking about the gospel. It kind of, whenever I see those movies of Joseph Smith and the first church meetings, it reminded me kind of like that, because really it was the church in its infancy right there.
So we had so many investigators, and we wanted them to come and see what church was all about and what it was like. So we invited them. We even we slept on army cots, and we brought our army cots out, and we filled the Amazon home with people. In our first Sunday service, it was just one big meeting, and very challenging, but very fun. So, as I recall, we had 3 plastic cups in our kitchen, and we used those plastic cups for the sacrament, for the water. And I remember we'd drink it, and turn a little bit, and pass it the cup. And we didn't have any supplies.
And we bought bread from there was a Chinese lady there that had a bakery, and we bought the...
Last name Young.
Vicky Young. And we bought the bread from her, and so everybody had a lot of bread. You know how now you do the sacrament, you get a little pinch of bread. We were breaking rolls in half, and everybody was sitting...
And they were big rolls, so you would get you wouldn't be so hungry in church anymore, because that's what we did. And I remember conducting the meeting, and I said, okay, this is how a meeting goes. We're going to teach you the opening song. And we only had our little missionary hymn books, so We kind of had to teach you the words, and then we had to hum the thing, and we practiced it. We sang it a few times until we felt like that we needed to move on. And then we taught a lesson, and I told Mike Arnold, I'll teach the lesson, you teach the Relief Society.
So I was the first Relief Society president.
At least teacher. Kind of fun. So we had a great meeting. I think that, we can't remember, but it seemed like there was about 30 to 50 people there. And they were all investigators except for Loida. And so we started to recognize this is going to grow very fast, so we started looking for a building. And one of our first options was a school.
It was up on the hill. It may not even, it's probably not even there anymore, but it was an old school. It was kind of not being used anymore, and so they said that we could rent that for a small price. And so we started building benches and putting some furniture up in there, and then we realized that it was not going to work because Brother Oshelo was not able to walk very far. He had some health issues, and so.
And a lot of the members we were teaching were old.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to walk up that hill.
It was a big, big hill. It was the top of a hill. That's all I remember about it.
So we backed out of that, and the Amazon family let us borrow the barn across from the house, where I think they did many things in there. And I remember our first service, Arnold and I went out and we built benches. We had hand saws and wood. We bought wood and we built benches, and we put them in there, and we kind of made a makeshift chapel in the barn. Had dirt floors, and during our first service, sacrament service, somebody next door decided to slaughter the pigs. So during, when it's supposed to be quiet and spiritual, what did it sound like?
Very quiet and spiritual.
Make the sound.
We were actually passing the sacrament, and all of a sudden they were slaughtering the pig, and they were bleeding it out. And so it was very much alive, and it sounded a little bit like this.
It sounded just like that.
Sounds like a dinosaur.
I promise I didn't slaughter Mike Arnold. So anyways, it wasn't very reverent in that place, and we asked them not to slaughter the pigs during our church service. And I remember the next Sunday we went in there, and there was lots of bees, great big bees buzzing around, and it was hard to...
Yellow jackets or hornets or whatever.
Something, and it was really hard to be reverent. So eventually we had to do something about it. I think eventually our church went down to the Tan residence in one of their houses.
That was too small.
And we started to branch out from Allen to some of the other little neighboring towns, and we had lots of members. It was a great experience. You know what? We were just the lucky ones to be there. Allen is a choice place. I still think about it almost daily.
I do too. I think about it a lot whenever I pull my magic tricks out.
He also had these ping pong balls cut in half, and he'd put them in his eyeballs and scare little kids and chase them down the street and make them
They'd
scream.
say, walk, walk, walk,
Aswang, walk, walk.
walk, walk.
It was really dumb, but it worked.
You had a note here, something about Petromax. Tell me about that.
Oh, so one night we were in our apartment, and we didn't have electricity. Alan, as you could recall, didn't have any electricity, and we decided to turn off our Petromax because it was making our house even hotter. It was too hot.
Smoky too.
Right, so we turned it off, so we were kind of went to bed in the dark, feeling our way around, and I remember we went into the bedroom, and it was Arnold's turn to say the prayer before bed. So we knelt down in the dark, and in the middle of the prayer, I had hundreds of ants biting my arms. And it hurt, and I jumped up screaming, yelling, smacking, and Arnold was praying, and he had no idea what was going on. He
I
thought
he'd caught the spirit.
he thought something was happening to me. But anyway, it was just ants. There was a lot of ants in our apartment, as I recall, and
We had a scorpion too.
yep, we did have a scorpion. In fact, I found it in this journal.
And he's sitting there turning through the pages, reading some of his former pages in his journal, and all of a sudden the journal just goes up in the air and pages are flying everywhere.
Scared me.
Because it's a loose leaf.
It scared me to death. Anyways, in the midst of all of our success there at Allen, we had to ask for the Frankums. If you guys remember the Frankums, Jim and Abby Frankum. I don't know if they're alive anymore. I haven't seen them, heard from them for 20 years, but they came up to assist us, and they brought up Nilo and Hilda Suckong, and anyways, it was a great experience. I remember that Abby would walk a lot faster than Jim. They'd be going down the sidewalk, and he couldn't keep up with her.
He was kind of had a bum leg or something.
Yeah, he kind of limped along.
And she did too, but she limped faster than him.
Yep. But we remember so many experiences. The Bondal family, what great people. And they still are. We keep in touch with some of the kids and some of the people.
The Papas and
Mendoza. So I'm going to publish for you guys. I'm going to type this sometime soon, the list of all of the people we baptized and the dates. And we would really appreciate it if you guys could find them. Let us know their status. Are they still alive or dead? Where do they live? How do we connect with them? It'd be awesome to have a picture of them. I know several people have passed, and some people maybe have fallen inactive, but we'd still like to say hi to them and let them see this video. And Arnold and I, we both are on Facebook. Hopefully you can find our names and friend us and say hi. Some people's names we forgot their picture, so we need to see what they look like, right?
right. And I'm just look on Facebook. I'm on there now. Michael Arnold, and
So Michael Arnold lives in Alaska. I live in Leatham, Utah, and we're lucky enough to be together this week. He's down here visiting his children.
yep. And so it's
I have 4 children and 6 grandkids right now. My wife's name is Chris. We came there in 2010, I think, is the last time we came to Allen,
it was
With the
2010.
and was with Mike and Debbie.
Yep.
We went to see the Cebu Temple and go through it during the open house. But we would like to come back and visit you again, but this COVID stuff won't let us travel. So this video is what you get for now, but in the next year or so, as soon as we can, we're gonna come over and see Allen and visit, maybe stay a whole week. We'd like to go around and see everybody again. Mike, tell him about your family.
I've got 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys, and 5 grandchildren. And they all live down here in Utah, so we have to come down here to visit them. So that's what's going on with us.
So
And-
we're lucky enough that we get together once in a while and say hi. We also talk on the phone a lot,
Yep.
and got a great relationship.
So we do have a few more funny stories. Do you want to go over any of those? Or?
Let's do it.
So something about Mike Arnold's armpits?
So while we were in this house, the water that came up from the pump in the Amazon's house must have been salty, but we didn't know it. So we were taking showers, and we didn't feel clean.
Well, it was, what was happening was the water, we were right on the ocean. The apartment was right there on the ocean, and so they had a well there that they were getting water from, pumping it up into the cistern, and we would take our showers and baths in the apartment there. And so anyways, after a while I started getting really itchy and just terrible welts under my arms. And it was unbearable. I couldn't stop scratching even when we're teaching a lesson. And he would get mad at me and say, "Stop scratching."
He was scratching like a monkey, and I didn't know why.
And so, anyways, we had no idea. I tried to stop eating pork. I tried different diets and so forth. And finally, one evening, we were writing in our journals, and we had the Petromax there with the glass. We'd washed it off because it gets black from the soot occasionally, and we washed it off. And I'm looking at it that night, and I could see that it was kind of something on the glass that looked like sand. And I said, "What is that? What's that?" And I started kind of feeling it, and I tasted it, and it was salt. It was salt from the water. And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna stop using this water for bathing." And I went out, and I had some kids bring some water from the spring about a mile away. I paid them, and I washed with that for 2 days, and it was all gone.
Don't let him tell you that. He didn't take a bath for 2 months.
Didn't you guys try a all fruit diet,
Yeah,
hoping
we
that that
tried.
would change,
Yeah,
help
we
it?
So there was times there we bought baskets of mangoes and watermelons and saging, and that's all we
We
ate.
did that anyway.
I know. And one time I think we ate like 80 or 90 mangoes in like 2 days.
We told our house help to stop cooking. We were just gonna eat mango.
And we had yellow around our lips, and our mouths were all stained with yellow, and we had the fiber in our teeth. We ate a lot of mangoes, and it was so good.
And tell me about the ice cream.
Oh.
So in May
The
17th,
17th was my birthday, so there was this one kid that would come over from, was he coming then?
from Boulogne, Matnog on the ferry,
And he'd sell ice cream bars.
he'd ring the little bell,
Magnolia Man, the
and
Magnolia
he'd sell
Man.
popsicles.
Yep, and so we asked him if on my birthday if he could bring a tub of ice cream. So he brought a tub and sold us a tub of ice cream for my birthday.
We didn't tell any of you guys, but yeah, we ate a lot of ice cream that day. Lots of ice cream. Anyways, lots of good memories in Allen. Is there anything else on our list?
That's it.
We want you guys to know we love you
We
and
do.
can't wait to get back.
You're a big part of our lives.
So this is,
You really are.
what anniversary is this?
This is our 40th anniversary of our entrance to Allen.
You guys are old.
May 5th, 1981. We are old. Mike Arnold's retired, gray hair. I'm gray. I still work. I'm not as smart as Mike.
Oh yeah, right.
And someday we're going to go on a mission again and do the same thing. We encourage you guys all to serve, do the same thing that we did. We were just lucky to be there. We can't wait to see you guys again.
Tell your friends, everybody that you know about the church, bring them into the church.
We need to go find the priest there in Allen and offer up our heads to him, because he really made our success more successful. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, but that's okay.
Anyways,
I'll introduce myself. I'm the voice behind the camera. I'm
This
Mike's
is-
wife, Chris.
this is Chris. She's the narrator. And hopefully this video gets to you guys and you can look at it and you can share it. We don't care if you share it with members and non-members alike. It's been fun to make it, and we hope to do more of this.
How about you both bear your testimonies?
Church is still true, you guys.
That's
My
yours?
testimony, it's true.
That's it.
It's still true.
Well, I just want you to know that the church is true, that Jesus is the Christ, that he lives today, and he loves each one of us. He loves all of his children and wants us to return back to him. I know the Book of Mormon's true too, and that the church, without the Book of Mormon, it would not be anything different than any other church on the earth. We have the truth. Joseph Smith was a prophet, and I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I also want to emphasize the things he just said. They're all true. President Nelson is our prophet today, and we need to follow him. If you've been inactive, or if you know people that are members of the church that aren't going, love them back to church. It's true. We go during the COVID times. We're watching it on the TV sometimes, but we're still participating, and hopefully this COVID will go by soon. But love you all. Thank you for being part of our lives.
Love you. Bye.